I'm Alan Higgins from Coutts Global Markets team. I'm here with Monique Wong. We're going to talk about investment performance today. Monique, so investment performance, what kind of mandates and portfolios do we run here at Coutts?
We run two types of mandates here. We have discretionary portfolios and we also have multi-asset funds.
So the multi-asset funds, the information on them is publicly available at Bloomberg, etc., even in the Financial Times. So the performance of those is strong. So today, Monique, I'd rather focus on the discretionary mandates. And the reason I'd like to focus on the discretionary mandates is that our customers have a choice and we have clear information about competing wealth managers. So here we are towards the middle point of 2017. We know that 2016 was strong. Maybe you can refer to that. But how about 2017? How are we looking so far in 2017?
Our performance numbers across portfolios are looking very solid this year. So if I take as an example to year to date, to the end of April, a typical balanced portfolio would have done something like 3.5%, which is great compared to gilts at 1.5% and the FTSE at 2 1/3, which means that growth portfolios would have outperformed the FTSE and defensive portfolios would have outpaced cash rates and inflation.
Sounds very encouraging. So what are the key reasons for the strong performance so far this year?
One of our investment principles is diversification, and diversification has paid off very well this year. Various of our themes have worked, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So within the equity space, it's difficult to choose from, but technology and emerging market equities have been winners. And within the fixed income space, bank bonds have done very well, and this is a thematic that we've embraced for quite a while.
Okay, so good. Yeah, so you're quite right. So this year, sterling's been relatively stable. So for our sterling-orientated portfolios, we haven't had the windfall gains that we saw last year on overseas investments. So it's not to do with sterling this year. That's quite interesting. So that's for our UK-based clients, but we also have a growing international client base. We manage dollar and euro mandates. How are they faring this year? Because last year, of course, they had a different perspective from sterling. The returns were lower because there were no windfall gains for sterling or euro-based portfolios. So how are they faring this year?
I'm very glad you've asked about that because this year, our international portfolios, the euro and the dollar portfolios, in particular the dollar ones, are the outperformers amongst our suite of strategies. So the euro and dollar portfolios are running at 1.5% to 3% higher than the sterling portfolios, and they too, I'm pleased to say, have outperformed their peer group.
Okay, and when you talk about your peer group, so we're talking about the wealth management industry, because Coutts is a wealth manager, clearly. And just for listeners and watchers, we're talking about a firm called Asset Risk Consultants, or ARC. We'll refer to ARC. And what they basically do is rank all the wealth managers like Coutts and all the competing managers. I think there's about 80 in the UK. That's right, isn't it, Monique? Monique, from 1 to 80. So how are we faring so far this year? Let's go to dollar and euro portfolios against the wealth management industry, because it is a competitive industry and our clients could choose Coutts or other wealth managers.
So you're absolutely right. On these ARC surveys, as you have suggested, they've been published. And more than our international surveys, both our euro and dollar portfolios and our sterling portfolios are in the first quartile for numbers year to date, and indeed for the longer term. So I'll turn that over to you.
So first quartile, so that means if there's 80 managers, wealth managers out there, Coutts will be somewhere in the top 20 out of 80. So that's very credible. Well done to the team. That's very good. What about the longer term, so over 5 years? I'll talk a little bit about some of the factors of the last 5 years, but what's it been like for investors? Has it been plain sailing? Has it been just easy, stay invested in markets over the last 5 years?
Coutts clients indeed have had strong performance over the last 5 years. As you said, and I'm repeating, the short term makes for the long term. And I'm glad to say that all our portfolios are broadly in the first quartile, and if they aren't, the few of them are in the second quartile. So we're definitely up there in the top half.
So very, very strong indeed. That's pleasing to know. So we'll come back to maybe reasons for strong performance over the last 5 years. What about the market environment over the last 5 years? Obviously, last year people remember Brexit and the tumbling of the pound and the tumbling, albeit briefly, of the FTSE 100. What's it been like over the last 5 years? Has it been plain sailing?
So first I'm going to say that over the last 5 years, our track record is that we are in the top quartile. So again, in the top 20 of the 80. Has it been plain sailing? I wish markets were plain sailing. Statistically, we know that a 10% market correction tends to happen once a year. And if we look back at the time frame in which these portfolios have been running, every year for the last 5 calendar years, we have seen a 10% type correction. The most recent one of that was the first 6 weeks of 2016. The oil price had halved from $60 to $30 in the previous 6 months, and there were huge fears about a global recession. But one of our investment principles, or another of our investment principles, is that we are macro-driven. Our research showed that a low oil price should be a booster to growth, not a signal of imminent recession. And so we stayed our hand, even though it was uncomfortable at the time, which is a great segue for me to ask you. You've been managing these portfolios for a while. Would you like to have a last word about our investment process?
Thank you. So yes, myself and the team, of which you're part of, has been managing these portfolios for the last 5 years. And congratulations to the team, because performance is really good. First quartile everywhere on the UK mandates in particular. So what's driven it? You've mentioned diversification. I'll just add 2 points, or re-emphasize 2 points. Macro-driven research, focusing on, is a US recession imminent? Yes or no? 1. And 2, willing to be contrarian. So willing to go against the crowd. So when the market falls, willing to be buyers. You mentioned bank bonds. So buying bank bonds, for example, in early 2016 when they were out of favour. Thank you, Monique, for that update. And if you need any other information, please get in touch with your Coutts advisor.